Welcome, my friends, to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, and I'm thrilled you're joining me today for a fun conversation with a passionate author. We're kicking off the program, like it's our tradition, with a short reading from the feature book. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started.
My name is Kim Lengling. I'm an author. I am the host of the podcast, Let Fear Bounce, Tossing Nuggets of Hope. I'm also the host of the online streaming television show, The Right Stuff, The Author's Voice, and that's WRITE, The Right Stuff. And just recently, my podcast episodes are now being aired on a radio station, actually run, and all of the hosts are veterans. And that radio network is About Face Network. So exciting stuff there. That's relatively new, but I'm here to read a little bit for you. And I have a book that's not out yet. So I'm going to give you a little peek at part of a story. And the name of the book is going to be called Paw Prints on the Couch. It is all about how your fur babies have made such an impact and enriched our lives. This story I want to share now is called A Youngin' Enters the Realm. Now, 6 months after I had said a heart-wrenching goodbye to my Digger, my best dog, I felt a nudge in my heart, a nudge that said, there's a dog out there that needs you. Now, driving to work, I actually felt those words. There's a dog out there that needs you. And my first reaction was, no, can't do it again. It is way too hard. But the nudge came again. And I replied again, I can't. It hurts too much. Now, once it works, those words would not leave my mind. I got online to see what dogs may be available at the local shelter. And there was one, which was unusual because I thought only one dog is available at this shelter. And there it was, a picture of this one dog with the following information: male, shepherd mix, approximately 3 years old, stray, no background. But what caught my attention about this little guy was his coloring. He had a black head, a fawn-colored body, white feet, a white patch on his chest, and he had one brown eye and one ice blue eye. He was so unique looking, and I decided to call the shelter and set a time to meet him. And I'd resigned myself to the fact that I would probably be getting a dog, but the dog would have to choose me, and it had to be the right fit. I didn't tell anybody I was even thinking of getting another dog. I needed this process to be between me and this pup. So the next evening, I went to the shelter to meet this young boy, and I was escorted into the meet and greet room, and I was asked to wait. And a volunteer eventually brought this little boy into the room. He was thin, ill, and really skittish. And he didn't want to leave the volunteer's side, and he kept his nose to the door as if he wanted to leave. I sat down on the floor so I could be at his level, and I didn't say anything, and I didn't move a muscle. I wanted him to feel comfortable enough to approach me on his own. And after a few minutes, the volunteer left this scared little boy with me, and the waiting began. Me sitting on a cold cement floor as this poor little dog sniffed the air, paced back and forth, pawed at the door, and eventually sat down with his head hanging. After a few more minutes, his curiosity overcame him, and he tentatively approached me. First, he would sniff near my one hand and then back away. Then he would walk to my other side and sniff near my hand and back away. I continued to sit there and be silent and still. After about 10 minutes, this young boy approached me again. He sniffed near my hand, walked to my other side, sniffed on my shoulder, and finally, he sat down beside me, and within a few seconds, he leaned his entire body against mine and placed his head upon my shoulder, looking up at me with that one ice blue eye. And I softly whispered, "Oh, so there you are. And I think you're coming home with me, aren't you?" He had chosen me. Now it was a matter of getting just all the fees and shots and paperwork taken care of. And I had to wait 48 hours before I could bring him home. But returning home that night, I was second guessing myself. Was I ready for another dog? Could I give the love this scared and sickly dog would need while still missing my Digger that I had just recently had to say goodbye to? There was no information on his background, so how would I know if he'd be a good fit for me? The questions whirled in my mind, causing me to have a sleepless night. The following evening after work, I stopped at the store to get food, a new leash, a collar, a bed, a toy, but I wanted to see and find out what his personality was before I went too overboard. And the night I picked him up, they brought him out, and he seemed really excited to see me, as if he knew he was finally going home. And as we left the shelter and approached my vehicle without hesitation, he jumped in the back seat, sat down, faced forward as if to say, "Okay, I am ready." And if you want to hear the rest of the story, folks, you're going to have to get the book when it's released later this year. Paw Prints on the Couch.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. Seriously, I hope you enjoy that reading as much as I did, because the fabulous Miss Kim does it to me every time, and I'm always end up teary-eyed. So this is going to be a fabulous episode. Quick reminder, if you are interested in supporting our shows and actually watching the videos of this recording, join the podcast communities. The link is in the comments. You don't want to miss it. Go ahead and become a podcast junkie. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. All the unedited videos. Come on, you wanted to see us because we're here to talk to the fabulous Miss Kim. Let's jump right in. Hello, madam. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am wonderful, and I'm so thrilled you're here. And I want to talk about this new book that is literally going to be out any minute. So for everybody listening, this is going to be absolutely amazing. You're always writing such moving pieces. You are going from very emotional, very motivational. Why this book? What happened? Tell us.
This has been something that's been in my mind for years, literally for years. I had a dog named Digger, and he was with me for 14 years. I was absolutely blessed by him for 14 years. And he was a very large dog, 105 pounds. When he was standing, his back came up to my mid thigh. He was a big boy, probably the smartest dog I've ever met. Never had to tell him something twice. He learned it right away. But as one who lives with PTSD, he was so in tune with me. And over the years, that connection became even closer. And he wasn't trained for any purposes of that, working with a veteran or anything like that. It came natural to him. And he and I had an amazing connection. And so often you would look at him and you would see so much more than a dog in his eyes. His eyes told all kinds of stories, and they were so smart. It was just amazing. And anyone who met him, everyone said the same thing. They're like, "I think there's a human in there," because his eyes were so expressive, and he was incredibly empathetic, but also incredibly protective if the need arose. He was my sidekick. And over the years, the last 6 years of his life, but his whole life I'd been joking around saying, "You got a human behind those eyes, and I can just take one look at your face and I know exactly what you're thinking." So I started writing these conversations down between Digger and I. But Digger was always the one that was smarter. He was always the one that could solve the problem. And he was always the one that just had snippets of wisdom to give out in his own unique way. And his mom, which is me, his mom was the one that always learned something. And so for 6 years, I wrote these conversations, and I started posting them on Facebook. He had his own Facebook page called Digger's Diary. And I did it for so long, and people started really liking and looking forward to and saying, "Hey, when's Digger going to share another story? And when's Digger going to teach us something else?" And I would laugh and say, because they forgot it was a human writing them, the stories. They forgot it was me. They were in touch with Digger, and they wanted to know what Digger was thinking and all of this. And it was so fun. It was just so fun. And I was thinking, those are the last 6 years of his life. So he was already a senior dog. And as I watched him slow down, everyone that was on that journey with me through those stories watched him slow down. And he would share what it felt like to slow down. And he would feel bad when he couldn't do certain things with his mom that he always used to do. And so it was the whole aspect of it, all those stories. And I kept all of them. So the book is written, But be darned if I can't sit down and work on it for more than an hour and I bust out in tears. And it's been 6 years already or 4 years already. And I still cry. And so I have to walk away from it for a bit. So I thought, all right, to ease myself, because I've always wanted to do a pet book, always, always, always. And because people love and adore their pets, and they're such a huge part of our lives, and they bring so much. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'll ease myself into this. I'm going to do an anthology. That's what I do. I like doing anthologies. All the other ones I've done have been faith-based. But this one, I'm like, no, I want it to be about pets. I want people to share their stories about their beloved little souls that they brought into their lives. And so that's what Paw Prints on the Couch is. It's an anthology of folks sharing their stories of their pets, whether they've just gotten a new puppy or they've shared stories of pets that they've had that have since passed on, because their lives are just too dang short. But I firmly believe they're here for that time frame for a reason, and they're here to do a job, and they do it so well that they don't need to stay much longer.
You have me once again. I'm all emotional because I am also one of those. I have a cat that's been with me 17 years, going to be 18 pretty soon. So I completely understand those transitions. I love the fact that you went back and decided, I'm not ready. I want this book, but it's not ready to come out. Let's do something else. So the fact that you gave yourself the grace just to be okay in that space is amazing. When did you realize, this is going to be a fun anthology? When was that moment that it clicked for you? That was like, this is the thing. This is happening.
Everybody I had been talking to, whether it was on my podcast or in person or at church or wherever it was, everyone was talking about their pets, like the silly things that they had done, or they were losing their pets and they were just, their hearts were broken. And it was literally every day for weeks. And in the back of my mind, it was like, Kim, do an anthology on that. Get these folks stories if they want to share them. There's pets are such a huge part of your life. And for pet owners and pet lovers and those that adore their pets, you're all going to resonate with what I'm saying. They are a part of your family. They are a family member. I named it Paw Prints on the Couch because what if you've got an animal and you don't have paw prints on your couch, then you're not spoiling your animal enough.
Or you're not realizing they're there. Let's be honest, because they're there. You just didn't pay that much attention.
Oh, good point. Good point. Right. Yeah. Well, my dog hogs the couch. I have to like squeeze my butt in there because he's a big boy. Dexter, the one that I have now, he's a big boy, and he sprawls. So I get my, 11 inches on the end of the couch, and you just kind of squeeze in there and say, well, pardon me, sir, Dexter, I hate to disturb you, but could you move your feet a little bit so I could sit my butt on this couch?
It's one of those things, can we share this space? You do have all of that. You just give me some space.
But he just does it with the couch. That's it. The couch is what he does. He doesn't sleep in the bed or anything. He has on occasion, but he leaves after like 15 minutes. He likes the couch. He's kind of adopted the couch. That's he's called it.
Technically, you're invading his terrain. He's like, you have everywhere else. Why don't you just leave me? What is wrong with you?
The comical thing is he has 2 dog beds, 2 very nice, expensive dog beds. He wants nothing to do with them. One's upstairs and one's downstairs. Occasionally he'll go pick it up and shake it around and drag it around the house. He never lays in them. He never sleeps in them. He just fights them every once in a while when he's bored.
He's convinced this is his giant toy. I was like, Mom, you could have had something smaller, but I guess I'll play with this. Thank you very much. That is amazing. So tell me, sweetie, what genre would you put this book? Does it have one?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know what genre it would be. Well, nonfiction. That's all I can come up with, because they're all true stories. So it would be nonfiction, but as a subcategory, I really don't know.
There is a pet category, but there is a pet category for everybody who's looking at it. Can we put it on the healing? Do you think a healing journey would fall?
That's a good idea. That's why I need people outside my bubble every once in a while, toss nuggets my way. I'm telling you.
We're here. We got you covered. The reason it brought up is, especially with your story, a lot of people can relate with the concept of, I'm ready. I think I'm not sure. Should I do it? And it is a healing journey. You said it very well. Do I commit? It is hard. Do I do this again? So, for anybody listening, this is a great collection to get if you've been through those stages. You had a pet, you love your pet. How do you get ready for this transition to the next stage? Or even more, do you get another one once your pet has transitioned? I think healing and mourning to some extent would be a great place for people to find it. What do you think?
You're right. You're right. Because when you have to say goodbye to a pet, you do experience all stages of grief.
Hmm.
I mean, you truly do. And it took me 6 months before I got another one. And I went to the shelter, of course, and got another rescue dog. But it took me 6 months. And those 6 months were hard. The first 3 months, I was devastated. Literally, I was inconsolable. It was horrible. And I absolutely hated coming home to a house with no dog in it. It was awful. So after 6 months, that's when I kept getting that nudge in my head. There's a dog out there that needs you. And I'm like, leave me alone. You know?
So we already went through one of these. Let's not do this again. Thank
Right.
you. I think those pets nudges, those intuitions we get, it's the same thing with stories. As much as we want to fight it, they're going to come back until you put it down on paper and you decided to share them.
Yep.
As you continue to create these anthologies, what is something you have learned through all this journey of yours?
I absolutely love putting anthologies together. I love coordinating them. All the people that participate, when they share their stories, they're opening themselves up and being vulnerable, because I'm not asking for people to share floof stories. I'm asking them for the personal nitty gritty, you
Hmm.
know, and they've all come through. Some of them have struggled more than others. Some of them have never written before, and you talk them through it and you listen to them. There's a lot of tears. They're saying, I don't know if I can do this. It hurts so bad to even think about it. I said, well, if it's not right for you, then don't. They're like, no, I have to do it. But so they're back and forth. And not only are they learning, but I'm learning to be a better listener, to have patience, because a lot of times, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know how to put this together. I know how to edit. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. Then you have someone that's coming in that's never written before. They've never had anything edited before. Their feelings are hurt. And not that I'm ever mean, but as a writer, as an author, sometimes that stings when you get some edits back. It could sting. And I never ever try to make it sound like that, but they get so wrapped up, they forget that I'm outside their bubble and I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. So I've learned so much from each individual author that's participated in the book. And you were one of them, dear heart. She was in, yes, she was. Our
Yes.
fabulous host was in When Hope Found Me, the anthology, with a beautiful story. But everybody shares a vulnerability and they're willing to do that, knowing that it's going out into the world. Now, will these stories be like these massive bestsellers and on these New York Times bestsellers? It's not, probably not. But you know what? That's okay. That's not why I ever want to do them. I want to give people a platform to be able to share their story. If they've ever wanted to write, it's given them an opportunity to be published with a short story. How awesome and how cool is that? If you remember this feeling you had the first time you ever had
Okay.
something published, oh my goodness, it's just exciting. So that, but also you mentioned the word healing, and every person that shared a story has had to go through some sort of healing. And part of their healing for a lot of them was writing the story. It was so much more than just me coordinating and bringing all these people together and putting stories in a book and getting it out there. Oh my goodness, it was so much more than that. And I know that the books are landing in the hands of exactly who they're meant to land in. I've gotten comments from people around the world saying, hey, a friend gave me your copy. I borrowed this copy, or I just got your copy off of Amazon of this book. And I just opened it up to a story, because there's different stories. So they're short reads. You don't have to read it all in one. And not every story is going to resonate with you, but at least one story will. And without fail, the people that have commented and reached out to me and emailed and stuff just said, thank you so much for putting this together, because this particular story, I'm going through that right now. And I felt so alone. And change those words and tweak them a little bit. And that's how all the comments have been. The feedback has been. And I'm just like, okay, all right, now I know why I was called to put those together, you know?
That is such a beautiful thing. And for everybody who's listening, it is such an incredible journey that you can let your writing heal. And sometimes for a lot of writers, especially a lot of writers writing trauma, this is the first time they have shared with anyone. So it is amazing and beautiful. And I'm always so grateful that you have taken this as your ministry to put these stories together and share them with the world. So I love it. Sweetie, what advice would you give an up and coming author?
Don't let fear hold you back. Don't let fear or self-doubt or any naysayers that might be in your circle. Don't let any of that hold you back. You might think that you absolutely suck as a writer. I know I think that sometimes, but it doesn't matter. Just get it out. Just sit down and start writing. And I know you're going to hear that from many other people too. Just sit down and start writing. It doesn't have to be good that first time out. Just get it out. Just get it out, because you have no idea when that little spark is going to hit, and then it just starts flowing and you fall into this zone and you fall right into your story and you're in it and you're with it and you're part of it. And then when you stop and you look up and you're like, oh, 3 hours went by. That is the most amazing feeling. So let yourself ride that ride, folks. Just start writing and don't let fear or anything else hold you back. Just get it out.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. It's always such a good reminder to realize that you're going to be hit with it. Fear is going to come regardless of what we do. You still should write. Don't ever let it hold you back. So, Ms. Kim, where can our listeners find you? Where they can learn more about the books? Tell us.
Easiest place to find me is just on my website, which is my name, KimLenglingAuthor.com. That's KIMLENGLING author.com.
Ooh, love it. So, Madam, before you leave us, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes, I am.
Let's see how you do. Hopefully, I'll change it up from last time you're visiting us. So, let's see. Easy peasy. Don't think too much. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
That was really fast. You're like on it. Like, I got this. Gummy bears or Sour Patch?
Sour Patch.
This has been my question for the day. I keep asking this one. I really want to know, I guess, by the looks of it. DC or Marvel?
Huh. Marvel.
Okay. Beach or lake?
Lake.
Not bad. Let's see how you do with this one. If you could have coffee with any famous person, dead or alive, who would you have coffee with?
I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with Nora Roberts.
Okay. Why?
I have read so many of her books, and she's been writing for so many years. So over the decades, as I've grown as a person, the way she writes resonates with me. And I think that she was kind of a motivator for me. And I don't know, I kind of look up to her in a way. I love her stories. I love the way she tells stories. And I would love to just sit and pick her brain, or not actually just sit and have a cup of coffee and chit chat. It'd be awesome.
Aw, I love it. That is so true. She's amazing. Ms. Kim, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Any closing remarks, fast?
No, it's always awesome talking to you and spending some time with you. So thanks again for the opportunity. And you got to come back on Let Fear Bounce soon, lady.
You let me know. We
All
need
right.
to make that happen.
We will.
Mwah. Thank you so much, sweetie. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. Check Miss Kim's website. You are going to be absolutely blown away with everything she does. And trust me, she does a lot. So you're going to be moved and touched. But I'm having an amazing day. I want to hear when this book comes out because I want a copy. As a pet lover, I'm all into this. Remember, my dear listeners, that if you're interested in supporting the podcast, go ahead, click on the link, join the Patreon community. And I'll be back again next week with another amazing author. Bye.